One day she just started crying. Midlife is strange because one day your body starts reacting to a life your mind has been defending for years. You're driving the car, folding washing, standing in the supermarket staring at nothing. And suddenly you feel tears rising in your chest for no obvious reason. Not dramatic crying, the quiet kind. The kind that feels older than the moment itself. And that's what frightened her. Because she realized she wasn't crying about that day. She was crying about years. Years of swallowing things she should have choked on. Years of pretending not to notice. Years of saying, "I'm fine," while slowly disappearing inside her own life. And maybe part of it is hormonal. Maybe midlife heightens everything. The loneliness, the exhaustion, the noise, the emotional disconnection. But many women know this feeling goes deeper than hormones alone. It feels like the body finally refusing to carry what the soul has tolerated for years. Hi, I'm Bernie, and welcome to The Women's Shed. And today we're talking about the strange emotional shift many women experience in midlife. The moment your nervous system stops helping you pretend. Some women reach midlife and suddenly realize they have been emotionally bracing their entire lives. Bracing during conflict, bracing during silence, bracing beside people they loved. That's the strange part. Some women were never truly relaxed, only distracted. Distracted by responsibility, children, marriage, routine, survival. She became the kind of woman everybody could lean on, except herself. Many women were rewarded for abandoning themselves early, rewarded for being easy, understanding, emotionally available, low maintenance, useful. Useful women get praised. The woman who absorbs tension quietly. The woman who asks for little. The woman who keeps everybody emotionally comfortable while slowly becoming emotionally unreachable to herself. And eventually, the body notices. That's why midlife feels so strange. Things that once felt tolerable suddenly feel unbearable. The shallow conversations, the emotional inconsistency, the fake intimacy, the emotional crumbs disguised as love. And maybe the saddest part is this. Many women don't realize how lonely they've become until their nervous system finally breaks character. And the tears come out of nowhere. Not because one terrible thing happened, because too many small things happened for too long. The loneliest women are not always alone. Sometimes they're married, sleeping beside somebody every night while emotionally starving beside them. And that changes a woman slowly. You stop relaxing fully, stop softening completely, stop believing your feelings matter enough to even bring up anymore. And eventually, your body adapts to emotional deprivation so deeply. You mistake numbness for peace. That sentence explains more marriages than people realize. Because many women were not peaceful, they were emotionally exhausted. There's a difference. And once your nervous system experiences actual peace, real peace, no emotional monitoring, no walking on eggshells, no heaviness sitting in the room, no recovering from somebody else's moods, no pretending emotional crumbs are intimacy. It changes you permanently. That's why so many women become happier alone in midlife, not because they hate men, because some women realized the silence in their apartment felt safer than the tension in their relationship. Women understand that sentence instantly. Some women are not single because they failed at love. Some women are single because their nervous system could no longer survive fake connection. And once a woman experiences what it feels like to wake up without dread in her chest, without emotional heaviness before the day even begins, peace becomes addictive, not loneliness, relief. That's why some women look softer after divorce, lighter after separation, more alive alone. Not because they became cold, because they stopped emotionally bleeding in places that kept calling themselves love. And maybe the strangest part of midlife is this. Your body starts telling the truth before your mouth does. You stop being impressed by words. You start noticing energy. You stop craving chemistry. You start craving safety. You stop asking, "Who wants me?" and start asking, "Who costs me my peace?" That question changes everything. Because midlife exposes people. You begin seeing who drains you, who interrupts constantly, who only calls when they need soothing, who loved your usefulness more than your truth. And once a woman truly sees it, she cannot unsee it. That's why many women become quieter in midlife. Not weaker, clearer, she became quieter. Not because she had less to say, but because she finally understood who was never listening. And maybe the real grief of midlife is realizing how many women spent years begging for emotional depth from people who were only offering proximity. Touch without safety, conversation without intimacy, marriage without emotional shelter, and eventually something inside her says, no more. Not loudly, quietly, like a nervous system collapsing under years of emotional self-abandonment. Maybe midlife isn't making women colder. Maybe it's finally making them honest. Honest about what hurts. Honest about what drains them. Honest about how lonely some relationships actually are. Honest about how much pretending has cost them emotionally. Maybe she isn't bitter. Maybe she's exhausted from surviving emotionally in places that kept calling themselves love. And maybe the woman sitting quietly alone at sunrise, finally breathing, finally peaceful, is not lonely at all. Maybe for the first time in her life, she finally feels safe inside herself. I'm Bernie, and this is the Women's Shed. And if this conversation felt like someone finally put words to something you've been silently carrying, subscribe and join us for more honest conversations about midlife, emotional truth, relationships, loneliness, identity, and the strange awakening many women experience when they finally stop betraying themselves just to be loved.